Hello. All right, guys, this is going to be more of a casual video. My name is Thomas Brush. I'm the creator of a game called Pinstripe. Get a free copy of that game by supporting on Patreon. You can also wishlist my game Neversong. It was formerly called Once Upon a Coma. Now it's called Neversong. Wishlist that game below. And then finally, guys, follow me on Instagram, please. And thank you. That would be wonderful. Click the link below. I post personal stuff on Instagram. More personal stuff than you can ever imagine. So head on over to Instagram. That would really mean a lot. Okay, I got a cool question in an email, and I figured I would just answer it casually in front of you guys, in front of this new camera I got. Okay, so basically it's a long email, but it said, if you have... No, what does it say? Oh, without making this email a short novel, I'm really just curious as to what motivates an artist such as yourself. What is the driving force after a project's initial glimmer fades? That's a really good question. What makes you keep pushing forward to finish your project? I guess in general, what is it as an artist, above all, that motivates you? This is a great question, and I figured, hey, might as well just turn on the camera and answer really quickly. So basically, there's two ways I'm motivated in a project, and I think we need to separate these ways into when a project starts, when you're excited, and then the motivation when you're bored, right? And you just want the thing to be done. So at the beginning, when you're really, really excited about a project, and right now I'm kind of in that phase because I'm working on my third commercial game. When you're really, really excited, what motivates you is, it's different for everybody, but I guess I can speak for myself. There's something going on in my head. It's probably not a good thing most of the time. It's probably some kind of illness. Like if I went to a doctor, they would probably say something's off. I get really, really obsessed with games when I'm starting them. I'm really, really hyper motivated. I'm obsessed. And my wife will tell you I'm kind of an asshat when I start a project. I'm smiling right now. I'm like a really happy guy. But when I turn this camera off, I'm like, let's get this game done. I don't care what anyone else has to say. I don't care who you are. Leave me alone. I want to make this game. And it's terrible, right? But that's kind of where my motivation is. It's very obsessive. For those of you who program, which is probably the majority of my audience, it's almost like a for loop in my head. Like there's a regular update going on, normal life, and then I hit a for loop, and it's basically, get the game done, and then I'll break the loop, right? So it gets caught in this loop until I actually understand what the game is. Another metaphor, and maybe some of you can relate, is, I went hiking like 2 months ago, and the sun was setting, but I wanted to get to the peak, right? I just kept going, and I kept telling myself, I really need to turn around, or else it's going to be pitch black, and I'm not going to be able to find my way back to my car, right? It's kind of a similar feeling. It's uncovering and constantly exploring what the idea is. That's a really exciting feeling, and a lot of you probably know how that feels. Where you don't really know what your game is, and you just have to get an idea of what your game is. What is this thing in my head? You can feel it. It's like a subconscious feeling. Something's there. Excuse me, I'm burping. Something is there, but you just don't know exactly what it is. It's like an itch that you just gotta scratch to figure out what the game is. Now, the sad thing is that once you figure out what the game is, how it feels, what the soundtrack is like, what are the graphics, what's the story, what are the game mechanics, once you hit that moment where you go, this is what the game is, and you have a demo or a prototype and it works, then it's time to just get it done. So that's this next part of the answer to this question. What motivates me during the portion of the game's development that when it's sort of boring, when you're just getting things done, man, what motivates me, honestly, is money, or reviews, positive reviews, or acclaim, or praise, or that feeling of maybe getting a physical copy distributed by a distributor for Nintendo Switch, or getting a feature. Very shallow things are, I say they're shallow, they're perceived as shallow by purists, right? People who are purists, they look down on us if something motivates us that's very basic and simplistic, like money or praise. The problem is that if you're an honest person, if you're not living in a fantasy or, a really unique individual, if you're none of that, the thing is that your motivation isn't going to last forever. You're not going to be excited about your project all the way till the end. Maybe you will be, but if you're like me, if you're a normal person, you're going to lose that motivation. So don't be worried if you feel like your motivation is something simple like money or praise. Obviously, it shouldn't be that for the majority of the creation of the game. But if that's what gets you through and finish your game, then I don't care, right? And you shouldn't feel guilty. Now, the thing is that if those of you, if some of you are watching this video and you're thinking, well, I don't ever really have that motivation. Like I might be excited about my game, but once I get bored, I don't get motivated by money or anything like that. Well, for me, one of the primary motivators is money, and that sounds terrible, but the reason why I have that motivation is actually a good thing, or a good reason. It comes from having a family. I have a wife and a daughter. I have a dog who's laying right over there, and he needs his puppy chow or whatever. What do you eat, Jeb? Well, lately he eats diapers, which those are expensive. Right, Jeb? But yeah, I have motivation to pay the bills. I have a house. I have insurance to pay, which that's getting expensive. Health insurance. So there's plenty of things that I have that I bear on my shoulders, and I don't have an option to quit my games, right? The company that I've built requires me to finish my games. I don't have a choice, and that's a beautiful thing. It's kind of like if you just jumped off a cliff. How are you going to survive the fall? What are you going to do? You have no other choice but to survive. You can't think back about being on the cliff in safety. I'm not saying be unwise and stupid, right? That might be a bad metaphor. But I am saying if you have a passion and a excitement to start a company or build a family or buy a house, and you have the opportunity to do so, but you're scared of that responsibility, it's time to go for it. I hate to say it, but grow up, mature, be responsible. Don't be afraid of responsibility, bearing a heavy burden on your shoulders, because honestly, in my opinion, that's what life's all about. So learn to bear a burden, because when you do bear a burden, you don't have an option to quit or give up. At least you shouldn't, right? And so for me, I just finish my games, I finish my projects, whatever I set my mind to, I finish, because I got people counting on me. I have a daughter and a wife and a dog and friends and family who are counting on me. So I don't really have an option to quit. Maybe that's something you should consider. Maybe you shouldn't have an option to quit. It's always important. I think it's more important to follow through and finish something, finish your game, rather than just live in an abstract, foggy world where nothing ever gets done and you have no idea where you're going. Even if you're going, what's a good metaphor? Let's say your dream is to hike up a mountain and get to the peak, right? Well, it's a foggy, rainy day. This might be a terrible metaphor. Well, even if you veer off course and you end up in a trailer park, at least you figured out where you're going and you learned something. Oh, I learned that I got to a trailer park. I figured out why I went in the wrong direction. Now let's figure out how to get to the peak, right? At least you got somewhere and you learned from your mistakes, as opposed to just never ever moving, right? So that's why responsibility is really helpful. It pushes you forward even when you don't want to. So don't be afraid of bearing responsibility. Okay, I'm done rambling. That's my answer to that question. I'm glad I didn't have to type that up in an email to answer this person's question, because that would have taken forever. All right, my name is Thomas Brush. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave a comment, and follow me on Instagram. That would be awesome. Bye, guys.